Right? So our recording has started. And as mentioned before, I am Talisa Smith, the BCBA for Calvert County Public Schools. And today's topic of discussion is creating structure in the home. After completing this training, we should be able to identify the reasons why structure in the home is beneficial, establish daily routines, create spaces for specific activities, and create visuals for support. And we also should know how to assist our children with changes to the schedule. Why should structure be added in the home? Simply put, it provides assistance in ways that we wouldn't even necessarily think of. Children need structure to thrive. And by having that structure set up in the home, what it does is it provides them with opportunities to be aware of what they should or shouldn't be doing. When we have younger individuals, when they're in those early stages of development, they don't have the skills necessary to make the best decisions. There's a lot of impulsiveness with their decision making, and by adding that structure in the home, it sets the parameters for them so we don't have to deal with so many impulsive decision making skills from our children. For some individuals with autism, having a structured environment helps them feel safe, and it may also reduce their anxiety. So, just like our younger individuals who are in those early developmental stages where they don't necessarily have the best decision making skills, our individuals who are on the spectrum oftentimes have anxiety when they have to make the choices, especially when it's choices about too many things. If they have too many options, or if they aren't aware of what their options are, it could cause their anxiety to spike. And by adding structure in your home, you're removing that from them so that they just have to follow along with their routines. Without having structure in the home, there are too many possibilities, and children may attempt to control the situations to cope. Again, our individuals on the spectrum or just those with intellectual disabilities, their processing is different. So if there is no structure in the home, again, it's just too many options available for them. And with having so many options available, they may try to create rituals or rules to set up their own structure. And when I say creating rituals, I mean that things have to be done in a certain way every day because this is the way it's supposed to be. And with them being the person creating those rituals, when they don't have a strong enough processing system yet, they may create rituals that don't make any sense, or that don't naturally flow with what it is that needs to be done for the day. So by you removing that responsibility from them, what you're doing is setting a structure that makes sense and that can be easily followed throughout the day. And then we have some individuals who create their own rules. And not only do they create the rules, they also don't know how to explain what the rule is. Like I have an individual who sets the rule in his house that he doesn't have to wear clothes. So when mom has friends over for dinner, that disrupts his routine and it breaks the rules. And of course, now we have him engaging in problematic or unwanted behavior because the rule was broken. Whereas if you have that structure set in the home, you can have different types of schedules or routines established for when you come home and it's just the family home, or when you come home and we have guests over. You want to have those things set up, especially for your rule governed individuals, because they are less likely to just go with the flow. And when I say rule governed, it just means that they are individuals who follow the rules because that's what the rule is. So if the rule is that when I come home, I hang up my backpack, take off my shoes, and I take off my school clothes and I walk around the house for the rest of the day in my underwear, that's the rule. I'm going to follow it. But if the rule is set that sometimes I get to walk around in my underwear all day and other times when we have guests over, I need to have clothes on, if it's the rule, I'm going to follow it if I have rule governed behavior. So adding that structure in the home just sets your individual up for success. With structure in place, it could also help with adjusting to structure in other environments, such as school, music lessons, sports activities, girls, boy scouts, etc. I've been seeing a lot of this with our individuals coming back to school, where they've been at home for a year at this point. That's crazy. We've been home for a year. And because we've been home for a year, things are a lot lax. And we're not just home for a year just to be home. The world is in the midst of a pandemic. So, things are a lot looser because we're in such uncertain times. So we aren't as structured, or we don't have as many rules in the home, because the world is just so chaotic. So you want to provide them with the space to have some freedom, but by implementing some structure in the home about some things, you make that transition easier for them, with them coming back to school or with them going back to their sports activities, as opposed to where most of the time, especially with us doing those A and B cohorts, where I'm at school for 1 week and then I'm home for a week and then I'm back for a week and then I'm home for a week. By having that structure in place at home for that week that they're at home, it makes it easier for them every other week when they go back to school. They don't have to reprogram themselves to prepare to follow rules and to follow a routine, because I also have a routine at home. How do we create structure in the home? By establishing daily routines, creating designated spaces for activities, and creating visuals to keep our children on track. When you're establishing your daily routines, you want to make sure that you are basing them off of things that you do regularly. You don't want to have routines for things that we don't do at all. Like if we go to a birthday party once a year, that's not necessarily something that we need to, have established in our home for everyday use. But if we do have guests over frequently, you may want to create a routine for when we're entertaining guests, because that's something that my child has to get used to if we're engaging in those things frequently. Some examples of routines that you can create: morning routines. You can create school routines. You can do a school routine for when I'm going to school, or school routine when I'm at home for the week. Weekend routines, meal routines, hygiene routines, anything that your child needs assistance with getting done, you can create a routine for it. An example of a morning routine is that, and for this routine, you would have it in your child's room, most likely, or whatever it is that they sleep. And you would just have it set that in the morning, my alarm goes off. Okay, next to my bed is my nightstand. And on my nightstand, I have my list of things I need to do in the morning. And along with that list is a marker, so I can check off everything as I'm going, or I can cross out everything that as I complete the task. So turn off my alarm, check. Make my bed, check. And with this, you want to make sure that you're putting things on there that your child can successfully do independently. You don't want to put making your bed on someone's list who doesn't have those capabilities, whether it be because our hands can't physically do it, or we just haven't learned how. You don't want to put things on the child's routine list that they aren't capable of completing, because that could cause anxiety to rise as well. So after they complete everything on the list, they just simply cross it out, put a check next to it, or whatever case may be, to just establish that the thing has been completed. But having these routines in place and having them listed so your child knows what's exactly expected of them eliminates the opportunity for them to create their own rules or establish their own routines. Or if you have an individual who has the ability to give input, allow them to help you with creating the routine. Have them go through the list with you together. Like, okay, so what do you do in the morning when it's time to get ready for school? And have them tell you what they do, and you can either add to their list or remove things from the list that shouldn't be in the routine. And that way it's a collaborative effort, so that things that you want them to get done, and things that they're trying to do in the morning also get done. I remember being younger, and I would rush through my morning routine so that I could watch TV before I went to school. And the only way I was able to watch TV before I went to school is if I completed my entire routine. So I had to, of course, make my bed, brush my teeth, eat my breakfast, make sure everything was packed away in my backpack. And then I got like 10 to 15 minutes of watching PBS in the morning. And that was my reward, essentially, for completing the routines that my mother has set. But you want to allow input if you have an individual who has the capability to make good decisions. This is a good way to start allowing them to put their input in on things that they do as well. Then we want to create a space. Having designated spaces for activities reinforces structure completely. With our individuals being home and virtual for so long, I have witnessed myself, individuals being in class, signed into the Teams link, and there for attendance. And then 7 minutes later, they're on the page still, but you can tell that they're engaged with other activity. And I had an individual who was playing with his dog during class. He had taken his computer and went and laid in bed and was eating snacks instead of being engaged in activity. And those things you don't want to happen, because what's happening is that, we're not following the routine. The routine says that from 8:30 to 8:45, you are to be in your English class and you need to be actively participating in the English class. By having designated spaces for activities, you will provide the child with a prompt for where they should go in the house to engage in that activity. It also helps to reinforce the activity with the materials needed for that activity being present in that space. Organization is key, and it caters to your child's specific interests. So if you have that individual who is still doing virtual learning and they get sidetracked when they don't have structure, set up a space for them in the house somewhere to complete their schoolwork, and put it in a space that does not promote any other activity. So you wouldn't want to put them in their bedroom alone with the door closed, because in my bedroom, I have my toys, I have my bed, I have my video games, I have all these different things that are a distraction and that will take me away from what it is that I should be doing. Whereas if I sit at the kitchen table to get my work done, I'm sitting at a table with a chair and I don't have any of those fun activities accessible to me. So you want to set the space up so that they're actively participating in whatever it is that you want them to be doing. If you have a child where they love to play video games, you maybe want to have a designated space for that, so they aren't in the TV room with you and your other children while you guys are watching the movie being disruptive playing 2K. You want to set those spaces up for your individuals so that, they have those opportunities to engage in their activities that they should be or they want to be engaged in, and have success with those things without being disruptive or without doing things and faking like something's going on. A sleep space is another important thing. I have oftentimes heard parents say, I can't get my child to stay in their bed. I can't get my child to sleep in their bed. They'll sleep on the couch. They'll sleep with their siblings. They'll sleep with me, but they will not sleep in their bed. And it's not an easy thing to do. It does take some interventions, but setting up that space where this is where you sleep, teaching that from early developmental stages is key, because what you do is you establish a routine for them. You set that structure that when I'm sleeping, I sleep in my bed. I sleep in my bed in my bedroom. Now, of course, we all take naps on the couch. I still take naps on the couch, but you want to make sure that the majority of their sleeping is done in their sleeping space. And if you have to set up that sleeping space with princesses and Legoland and dinosaurs, whatever the case may be, so that they are excited about being in the space, do so. I'm telling you, buying a different blanket and a pillowcase does wonders for our young individuals. With our school space, you also want to make sure that you have everything that they'll need for the school day present. Get a collapsible box from like a Dollar Tree or something, and just have all the essential materials available and at the ready at that space that you set up for them for their learning. Have their pens, their pencils, their paper, their notebooks that they have, folders for specific classes. Put all of those things somewhere organized specifically to that child's interest and their needs, so you aren't being interrupted during your workday, because most parents are also working from home, or so that they aren't being disruptive to the class or to their peers, to their siblings, if their siblings are also doing work next to them at the table. Because what happens is, if I'm not prepared, then my anxiety starts to rise because I'm trying to find those things, or I'm upset because I don't have what it is that I need for that class. And you want to eliminate as much anxiety and stress as possible when you're creating structure in your home. Our visuals. This is something that's so important when you're adding structure into the home with our littles. You want to have your token boards. You want to have your schedules. You want to have your task list. You want to have things in place that provide them with the tools they need to successfully follow through with the schedule or the routine that you have set. Our token boards are amazing. What they do is they allow the child to be aware of what it is that they're working for and how much work needs to be completed before they gain access to whatever reinforcement they're working for. So if you do have that individual who doesn't like to sign in for class, if I have 5 classes that I have to do every day, maybe I get a gold star for every class that I attend and I participate in completely. And at the end of it, maybe I get access to my video games. If you're going to do things like that, make sure that you don't give them access to the video games outside of when they reach the goal. But having those token boards in place are amazing because it eliminates you having to be interrupted throughout the day. Can I play my video games? Can I play 2K now? Can I please play Mario Kart? Can I get on and play Call of Duty? Like, whatever the case, whatever it is that your child is interested in, it eliminates you having to be questioned throughout the day, interrupting your work, because they are aware of what it is that they need to do in order to gain access to that. And it also eliminates them walking away from class to say, hey, Dad, I sat in class for 7 minutes. My teacher says we are on a break for 5 minutes. Can I play Mario Kart for 5 minutes? Well, no, because you only get a star at the end of the class period, and you only get access to videos after you've done all 5 of your classes. With our schedules, they just reinforce what the routine is. It's just simply a list of every single thing that you want done by your individual with a space for them to check off that they have completed it. I personally love schedules that have been laminated. The only thing with laminating a schedule is you don't get to make easy changes. So you might want to leave a space if you have frequent changes to your schedule. You might want to leave a blank space there so that you can write things in quickly. Or you may have an individual who does better with taking things away. So if you want to do Velcro schedules where you just have the time slots listed and then you have an empty box available for each picture you want to attach with Velcro, and they can snatch the thing off every time they complete an activity. So at 6:15 I wake up, I can snatch that off and put it in the all done folder. Then I need to feed the dog and give the dog water. I pull that off after I've completed it. And I can pull off every single thing that I've done every time I complete something. And what that does is it gives me a sense of accomplishment because I've completed things, and it lets me know what it is that I should be doing next. And then we have our task lists, which are easy for our individuals who are learning new skills, and maybe we miss a step every time we do it, or maybe we do steps out of order. So we want to create those task lists to show them what they should be doing it and how it should be done. Good examples of task lists are for washing your hands, especially right now in the pandemic. Everywhere you go, restaurants have them with all the different steps to wash your hands. Those are task lists. And what a task list simply is a big skill broken down into small parts to be able to teach it in small increments. So you want to have the task list in your bathroom for washing your hands, or a task list in your kitchen if you have a chores for your individuals. Maybe you put up a task list for them to load the dishwasher properly or to unload the dishwasher, or you have a task list for your third grader. You're starting to have them do independent skills and they're going to create their lunch. Then maybe you create a task list for them creating their lunch. And it can be something as simple as take out the bread, take out the peanut butter, take out the jelly, get your butter knife, spread the peanut butter. You want to have all of those steps listed for your individual to finish whatever it is that you have done, that they need to get done. I'm sorry. If you would like assistance in printing and laminating a visual support for your child, please email Sue for further assistance. She has so graciously offered her time up for us. And she said that if anyone wants to add visual supports in their home, just reach out to her and she'll help you get those created. It's the same email that you emailed to get access to today's training.
I have a question about visuals.
Yes.
So my son has ADHD. I create one visual, like where once he's done, he pushes up, so it's like checked off. So he's got like the little doors. Loved it for 2 weeks. The younger ones liked it more than he did. Like he stopped wanting to even try to use it. So I changed it to the like paper, the clothespins. So he like put a clothespin whenever. It's just, how do you utilize the visuals when they lose interest in it?
How old is your son?
He just turned 7.
I would just have a conversation with him and just ask him if he's able to communicate properly. I would just ask him, like, how would you like me to list what you should do? Um, if he's able to have those types of conversations with you, I would ask him, because if he's not interested in something, you don't want to continue to put effort and work into it if he's not going to follow through with it. So if he doesn't like the schedules or the task list, he may feel like he's too old for those now. And if he doesn't like those, ask him, okay, so what do you want? How do you want your schedule to be if you don't want the clothespin, or if you don't want the boxes to open and close? Like how what's the best way for me to be able to remind you of your schedule or your routine?
Thank you. Yeah.
No
I keep
problem.
on forgetting he's old enough to really be involved in some of these discussions now.
It happens. It happens. I am 33, and my mother still forgets that I'm old enough to have some conversations. Like, I had to tell her recently, like, Mom, stop referring to me as a teenager. I have not been a teenager for years. She still refers to me and my best friends as teenagers when she's talking about us. I think it's a mom thing. I do. I really think it's a mom thing. Next thing we want to make sure we're providing structure in our home for our kiddos is to address changes to the schedule, especially if your individual is not a go with the flow type of kid. If he or she is a rule governed child, you have to address those changes immediately when you find out about them, because you want to give them time to process that there's been a change to the schedule. Because if I have something planned for the day, that's what my expectation is. My expectation is that this is what's going to be done, this is when it's going to be done, and this is how I'm going to do it. But if I have a change in the schedule and I'm not necessarily flexible, that could disrupt my entire day. So by explaining that the change to the schedule has happened as soon as you find out about it, and provide that reminder frequently to them, it continues to pressure their brain to wrap their thoughts around the fact that I'm no longer doing this, now I'm doing that. Addressing those changes early and frequently is so important, because you don't want to be in a situation where your child doesn't have that flexibility. And because they don't have the flexibility, they are engaging in tantrum or meltdowns or unwanted behavior when things don't go the way that they expected them to. If you have a child who does not do well with changes, you might want to figure out what a promise item could be, meaning something that if the plan was to go to our best friend's Jacob house, and then Jacob's mother sent a text saying that someone in her house has been exposed to an individual who has COVID, of course now we can't go to Jacob's house. So now I need to provide a promise item. Okay, Mary, I got a text from Jacob's mom, and we can no longer go over to Jacob's house today for playtime. How about instead we go get frozen yogurt? If Mary loves frozen yogurt, that's a promise item that I can provide her with to mesh with that change. So now, Mary, okay, remember, we're not going to Jacob's house tonight. Instead, after dinner, we're going to go get frozen yogurt. So now I've told this to Mary twice. I told her once when I picked her up from school, and then I told her once we made it to the house. And then, so as I'm preparing dinner, like, hey, Mary, what type of frozen yogurt do you want to get when we go after dinner today, since we're not going to Jacob's house? Now I provided that reminder to her a third time, because if I'm not on the spectrum, but I am an individual where if something is said to me and I'm in the process of doing something else, or if my mind is focused on something else, I'll completely forget it unintentionally, but it will happen. So I've learned that having those reminders come frequently, it keeps it in the forefront of my mind. So I'm aware of the fact that, okay, I had this all planned out, but now this has happened, and I have to restructure my brain to be prepared for whatever it is the new activity may be. And that's all I have for you all today. It was a very short training. Does anybody else have any questions? No?
Thank you, Talisa.
No problem. It's my pleasure. So if